Live International Rugby League, returning to Wembley for the first time in 14 years. This is the second week of the Gillette Four Nations. And coming up later, we have England against Australia. The game's oldest rivalry is renewed. But first up, it's Wales against New Zealand. The world champions, the holders of the Four Nations title. They know that for them, victory here today is absolutely vital. Right, a quick check on the way the two sides will line up. Danny Jones, Keir, Webster, Roets, Williams. Breers is the skipper for Wales alongside Lloyd White. Up front it's James. Hope he's okay after that big hit he got in the opening seconds last week. Budworth, Dodson, Frizzell, Beasley and Flower. And on the bench for Wales, Watson, Braycheck, Devorty and Kopjak. The coach is Iestyn Harris. And the Kiwis, well, they're a formidable looking side. Locke at fullback, Beale, Brown, Glenn and Nightingale. Marshall's the skipper and Foran is the scrum half. Up front for them, McKendry, Luluwai, Matalino. Manu, Adam Blair returns after a 5-match ban and Jeremy Smith is the loose forward. And on the substitutes bench they have Nathan Feen, Jared Waria-Hargreaves, Fui Moi Moi, fantastic name, and making his international debut, Elijah Taylor. And the coach, of course, is Stephen Kearney. Well, the nerves will be running through the players in that Welsh dressing room as they make their way out onto this Wembley turf. This is the biggest occasion for many of those players, and certainly it's the biggest occasion in Welsh Rugby League history for some time. They're about to play, I think, in front of the biggest audience in their international history. The Kiwis, they have topped 50 points in the last two meetings against the Welsh. What Price, a third 50-plus score in a row against the men in red. Well, that's what the bookies are tipping. But Lee Briers is an inspirational figure and a very proud Welshman, and he leads his country out here today. And Lee Briers is picking up his 22nd international cap. Plenty of Welsh supporters in the crowd, plenty of Kiwis here as well. But it's the South Wales Scorpions whose flag is flying high, and the Welsh Dragon is there as well. The New Zealanders, 50 points to 20 winners at Cardiff's Millennium Stadium, November 2002. Francis Melly scored 3 of their 9 tries that day. And 2 years previously at the same venue, New Zealand cruised to a 58-18 World Cup victory in which Leslie Vainikolo scored 3 of their 11 tries. But there is the man who many people do believe is the best player in the world, Benji Marshall, and what a contest between Marshall and Lee Briers here today. That will be worth the admission money alone. And the Welsh are banging the drum and hoping against hope that this could be a famous, famous day. And the England fans are all here as well. They're gathering for the Australia match that's coming up later on. And they're cheering for Wales. They've got the Welsh flags there. It's a great occasion. It's a double-header at Wembley. We're back at the National Stadium with International Rugby League for the first time in 14 years. It's the second weekend of the Four Nations of 2011. First of all, of course, we have the national anthems, and after the anthems we'll be joining Bill Arthur, Sean McRae, Phil Clark and Steve-O in commentary here in HD. And the anthems will be sung by the Wimbledon Choral Society Choir, and they will be accompanied by the Friary Guildford Band. First of all, it's the New Zealand national anthem.
of messing around with CDs or downloading stuff. We've got the proper stuff, a choral society and a brass band and the Welsh national anthem. Great to see Crusaders fans keeping the faith despite what's happened in Wales this past season. What could happen for Wales this afternoon against the Kiwis. They've won 7 of the last 9 games of the Welsh, but with all due respect to Serbia, Scotland, Ireland and France, this is a very different prospect, as the scale of which will become apparent now as the Kiwis muster to perform their haka. No Isaac Luke to lead the way this week, taking a break, so I suspect Benji Marshall will be the forefront of things for the Kiwis now. Looking pretty calm and unimpressed by that performance, and the calm before the storm perhaps for this Welsh side, who performed admirably against England last week for the first half, but we'll be up against it from the word go here. Matt Chechen is the referee, the Australian official taking charge here at Wembley Stadium, that's still filling up. The Kiwis just going into a final huddle, and a lot at stake for this New Zealand side.
We've got the perfect scenario as well here. Wales last week, when they received possession to start the match, they tipped it onto their biggest gun, Jordan James. He carried the ball back, was knocked out clearly off his feet. And then we look with this scenario here, New Zealand with the chance to kick off. I suspect they'll put it deep to Breers, and Jordan James, I think, will be invited to start today's game.
Well, reading the Kiwi press overnight, the man they're focusing on, Kiwis, is Lee Breers. It's about the only man they've heard of in this Wales side, they say, and they are really going to close him down because they know the importance of Breers to this Welsh side.
Ready to go.
And referee Matt Chechen gets us underway, and Wales will again get the first touch of the ball, and again James will drive it in, and this time survives that first challenge.
I think that'll be a massive amount of relief for Jordan James. He's taken the first carry, but again, immediately you see the speed with which New Zealand will move up as a defensive line, and the difficulty Wales will have in gaining ground and getting away from their own try line.
It's Gil Dudson now, crucial that Wales start well, Don't concede early against the Kiwi side and let the Kiwis build up some momentum. But Wales giving it some width early on. Oh, and couldn't get the ball to Keir. But that was adventurous, and Wales have conceded possession from that. Was that too adventurous in the opening set of this Four Nations game here at Wembley? Conceding possession already and inside your own half, inviting the Kiwis to challenge them now.
Well, you can't be critical of the intention there from Yasin Harris and his side to try and pass the ball around, find the space. They'd created it, but the pass didn't find Elliot Keir, and immediately they defended their own red zone.
Good defence in the middle of the park though from the Welsh on Ben Machelino. This big Kiwi pack coming forward. Of course, several players missing, and Simon Mannering rested today, as is Isaac Luke. Here's Marshall, and Marshall dancing his way through. Has he got that down? I don't think he has. The referee says he's held up. Good defence from the Welsh, but already ominous signs, the ease with which Benji Marshall found his way through there.
Well, the hottest stepper, isn't it? As the defender starts to tire, I think he'll make the space, but here's the kick for the corner. Foran. Elliot Keir takes it in his in-goal area. Now as he forced back, the referee says this will be a goal line dropout. I think the accuracy of the kick is what we have to compliment here, but also Keir's ability to get up off the floor, take possession. Now where did he leave the field? The referee hasn't asked the video ref for any assistance here.
Yeah, mate, I know.
He has got his feet in the field of play. By leaving the field of play and ending up in the in-goal area, that will be now New Zealand to receive possession again.
Keir, try-scorer against the English last week, the only try for Wales. Took that ball well though, under pressure from Gerard Beale, but Wales under pressure here now. Thomas Luluai, and now it's with Adam Blair returning to the side, returning to action in fact for the first time since August. An infamous incident, Storm against Manly in the NRL. Oh, that's miles forwards, and the referee spotted it.
Well, compliments to the Welsh defence here. They're the players in the right position now. I think they had it covered as well. Beale was covered by Breers, and that pass drifts forward. An excellent recovery as well, you'd have to say, after conceding possession in the first set of their own quarter.
Yeah, I think, Phil, what happens with a team like Wales when they look down the New Zealand roster and they work out a way to play, you can't blame them for trying to shift the ball a little bit and get to one-on-one play defensively to try to get a quick play the ball. The consequence of that, though, sometimes is that you do turn a ball over. What we're seeing at the moment is one-out stuff. It's easy to defend, and there's plenty of numbers from the New Zealand side, so you've got to move the ball around a little bit, take some risks. If you take a risk, you may turn a ball over. It means you've got to defend your line quite a bit, and New Zealand have already shown their intentions here and what they're going to do.
Breers puts the kick in, not one of his best, and it's taken by Kevin Locke. And this 22-year-old New Zealand Warriors player runs the ball back on halfway, and off goes Lewis Brown on his own up the short side.
Come back!
Stephen Kearney seeing his side dominating possession early on here at Wembley. The opening game in this double-header, England against Australia, to come here on Sky Sports.
It isn't uncommon for Southern Hemisphere sides to start test matches quicker than the England or Wales. The Northern Hemisphere sides. Here's a kick through.
The kick for Nightingale to chase, and Nightingale will gather and score. Lovely kick through. And Nightingale with acres of space. His 10th try in Kiwi colours. See George Illawarra winger having that handed to him on a plate. And as Phil was just saying, the Kiwis starting well, but Wales conceding possession early on, and they've been on the rack since.
Well, one of the best wingers in the world, Yasin Nightingale, shows his skill here in staying onside firstly, and the collection of the ball as it puts through is what's impressive here. Under pressure, he knows he has to bend and collect this. A pre-rehearsed play here. Ball goes to Benji Marshall. There's two passes before he gets to Marshall. That means that the red defenders have had to move up. Impossible for them to turn on the spot. And the accuracy of the kick, the weighting of it's the most impressive thing here from Benji Marshall. So many players kick the ball too hard. Not Marshall, even though it's bouncing awkwardly. Well collected by Nightingale.
Good position as well by Benji Marshall to make sure he was well out wide of his halfback partner, Kieran Foran. But he knows how to finish to Jason Nightingale. It was Real big writing on the wall as far as the Welsh are concerned. Can he add the extras?
Marshall from out wide has pushed that one across the face of the posts, but Nightingale getting the first try of the game, his 10th try in 13 tests for New Zealand.
Really clever play from New Zealand, because you'd expect them to run it here. They did from the other side of the field, but it is a well-rehearsed play. Wales have come forward very, very quickly, and that's just provided that space in behind for Jason Nightingale. And the accuracy of the kick, everybody knew the play was on. It's a very well-worked rugby league try, and I think it just, again, shows the danger of this New Zealand side.
When you talk about this, is now we're going to be 6 minutes into the match before the ball has been in New Zealand's half of the field, they're 4 points up. That just goes to show how well the Southern Hemisphere sides begin the games.
The pitch here at Wembley in great shape. There's been a bit of rain in the southeast over the last 24 hours, and the forecast today wasn't that good. It was supposed to have some heavy showers, but I don't think there's been any rain so far. It's quite bright. The pitch is firm. It's seen plenty of action lately. Just a couple of weeks ago, it was Tampa Bay against the Chicago Bears here in the NFL. Remember, that was a bad day for the Glazers that day, I seem to remember. Double defeat for them. But it's Four Nations that takes the centre stage here at Wembley today. And Marshall puts the kick in. This one for Territory and Danny Jones. Halifax player now heading for Keithley, now heading for his own in-goal area, and a second goal line dropout forced by the Kiwis.
Beautiful kick downfield. They realise that the number 5, Rhys Williams, has a bit of a problem, and you can see the fullback Jones got there, but look at that chase. Absolutely outstanding. Kept him moving, kept him off, and made sure he went in goal.
You'd have to be critical. You'd have to be critical though of Danny Jones. He either didn't go hard enough or he didn't go low enough there. He has to get back in the field of play here.
To be fair to Danny Jones, he's not a regular fullback. His Halifax role this season has been standoff, and in fact it's only his second international fullback appearance, I think. So
that's a
role he's
tackle,
not accustomed to, but that's good defence from the Welsh.
Ben Flower hitting hard underneath the ball. They need a little bit more of the shoulder contact shown in that example to match these big black jerseys that are pouring forward at them.
Matthew Lino is the latest of them. Turns and plays the ball. And Foran tackled 25 metres out. Here's Luluai now down the short side with Sikamanu. Manu tackled 10 metres out. 4 tackles gone. It's all New Zealand early on here, and Wales defending desperately. Jeremy Smith tried to take him on himself, but again Wales standing firm in the middle of the park. It's good work again by Gil Dudson in there. On the last, Marshall again stabs the kick in, and this time Wales are able to deal with it, but only at the last, and only through Rhys Williams.
Another brilliant kick. Ball just dropped onto his foot, invitingly, tantalisingly, and Rhys Williams, the temptation to allow it to go over the in-goal is too great. He knows that he can't afford to wait any longer and pats the ball out of play.
Well, we saw this last week, didn't we, when Wales played England? We saw a sustained effort from England with the ball, and Wales just struggled to hang on and hang on. And you can see some signs, as early as we are in this first half, you can see signs already of territorial advantage from the New Zealand team. And Wales, again, are just going to start to fatigue very, very quickly, unless they can come up with some answers. And the answers are, get the football in your hands, kick down into the corner, and make New Zealand come off their try line.
Good hit there from Jordan James.
Biggest problem, of course, is the Welsh can't get hold of the football at all. No good field position.
Here's Jason Nightingale. Well, England only managed to get to 14-0 at half-time last week. Wales will be happy if they can restrict the Kiwis to that sort of scoreline. Suspect it might be difficult. Short ball finds Matulino, another of the New Zealand Warriors players out there. Luluai, the only Super League recruit. Now here's Locke's pass, but it goes forward off Lewis Brown.
Well, you can hear the encouragement from the Welsh players here now, delighted with the defensive effort here to deny the Kiwis a try and force possession out of play. I think what was really interesting on that play, I know New Zealand didn't score, but it's really nice and interesting to watch. Kieran Foran, when he gets possession, so many scrum halves or players who received it first position either run sideways or pass the ball. He went straight towards the try line, committing the defenders in front of him and trying to create the space for the men that he would then pass the ball on to.
Wales have head and feet at the scrum, will just be looking to get through a set of 6 and get up the other end of the field.
Well, it rather surprised me, Bill, early in this game that when Wales had the opportunity, Breers actually kicked early in the tackle count, and I'm with you. They really need to get to at least a halfway line before they put the kick in.
It's Tyson Frizzell now, and some sting in these Kiwi tackles as Luluai goes in low. Frizzell plays the ball. Here's Jordan James now. 4 tackles gone. They're still inside their own half, struggling to make progress. They're not going to kick early here. And Breers over the top. That's a great ball. Kick ahead from Webster, but it's straight into the hands of Gerard Beale. Didn't quite come off, but again adventurous.
Brilliant to watch. It hasn't come off, but again they're taking the chances, they're taking the risks. Last week against England they only forced 3 offloads in the whole match, perhaps an indication that they didn't take enough risks on that occasion. That won't be the case here at Wembley on the big stage. They want to promote the ball whenever possible.
Webster just not able to get good connection on that kick, and so it's sat up comfortably for the Kiwis, for Beale, and they bring it back now. This game being played virtually totally in the opening 12 minutes in the Wales half. Jones, well, again, can't get out of trouble. It was either touch or his own in goal there.
Well, you have to again compliment the accuracy and weighting of that kick. He wasn't certain that it would go over the sideline. Once he got his hands on position, he knew he was in trouble near the sideline or the dead ball line. The goal line it was, he was forced over. And that's the 4th goal line dropout now.
Tremendous tactics by the Kiwi, and I must say Stephen Kearney, the coach, will be very, very pleased with that. They are in total control of this game, and they also realise that the Welsh outfit, they're having to do a lot of defence, and we often thought that throughout the progress of 80 minutes it would take its toll. Well, having to do all this defence early in the match, it'll take more out of the tank than what they expected.
Matilino making good yards there. Wales' first appearance at Wembley since 1933. It's changed a bit since then. Wales being allowed to play on there, and a fair amount of messing around at the ruck by Chris Beasley, but they're through, and fullback Kevin Locke will get the second New Zealand try. They didn't need the penalty. They exploited already fatiguing Welshmen, and young Kevin Locke gets his second try in Kiwi colours, winning only his 3rd cap here after a great season with the New Zealand Warriors, this young fullback. And Locke, who was over here in 2009 for the Four Nations but didn't get a game, making his mark in 2011.
A brilliantly executed player, out ball, in ball, and executed at full pace. That's the difference, isn't it? You saw enough red jerseys, but they couldn't get there because their opponents put on the play with such accuracy, speed and precision. Just look at it. Thomas Luluai brings in the defenders onto Marshall. Now New Zealand have had almost 3 times as much possession as the Welsh. There's bound to be elements of fatigue setting in there, but you have to capitalise on that with good play, and that's exactly what New Zealand have just done.
Ominous for Wales. Kevin Locke having some treatment after scoring that try. He had a bit of treatment before the kick-off, in actual fact, during the warm-up. Marshall is missed with another conversion attempt. I don't suspect it's going to come back to haunt him the way this game has started for Wales, but it'll be a concern. Points difference has been talked about.
Beautiful play, though. You cannot allow the likes of Thomas Luluai to run so fast and easy across the line of defence, and the inside pass from his partner Benji Marshall and the full-back. He knows exactly where to come. Set pattern move, great stuff.
Wales, can they at least make the Kiwis go the length of a field for a try instead of dominating possession?
Well, this is the area, Bill. They've got to force an error. They have to come up with an error. New Zealand haven't had to come off the line too often, and they've been very, very clinical. They're now prepared to shift the ball, probably because of the scoreline and the fact that Wales have had to do so much defence. They've got a little bit more time, a little bit more space. They've got to look for errors. Wales have got to keep tackling. They've got to keep getting numbers in, slowing the play of the ball down, and making New Zealand work a bit harder to score the points.
I think there's been one forward pass and one knock on from the Kiwis. Well, that's a good kick, charge down, and then it's gone forward off Adam Blair. and Wales will get the ball back virtually in the New Zealand half.
Well, it's taken 15 minutes, but you would imagine they're going to cross possession. Good pressure by Craig Kopczak. So we've spoken about how accurate Benji Marshall kicked the ball, but not when you've got a player in your face like that, and Kopczak ricochets the ball.
He had a fine game against England last week, Craig Kopczak. Came on very early on, of course, after Jordan James was flattened by Ben Westwood in that game, and Kopczak very close to scoring. And Wales, well, they might be behind on the board, but they've drawn blood. I think it's McKendry who's needing some treatment. He'll need to probably go off and have that seen to.
The referee's allowing an opportunity for the medical staff to stop the bleeding from the nose.
Let's go, fellas.
McKendry's still on the field at the moment.
Come on.
And Wales have possession on the halfway line. Now they've shown some flair early on, hasn't come off for them. Here's Christian Reitz now, the South African born player who's lived in Wales for a number of years now. South Wales Scorpions stalwart Christian Reitz. And Wales have the penalty. First of the game, and it goes against the Kiwis.
Well, this you would imagine holding down there in the tackle for too long, according to the referee. Should give the Welsh a perfect opportunity. I imagine at some point in preparation this week, they've had a dress rehearsal of this scenario, a tap penalty, 20 metres or so from their opponent's line, 6 players. What will they offer us?
The neutrals in the crowd, waiting for England against Australia, surely getting behind the men in red now as they attack the New Zealand line, and they go change of direction with Breers, and Breers one dummy and then finds Jones the fullback. The crowd lifts for the Red Dragons. Here is Breers now. Breers, short pass, finds Kopczak.
Hands away.
Kopczak crawls another metre or so. Here's Lloyd White now. White returning to the Welsh lineup after injury, but New Zealand stop him in his tracks and get another penalty, and Jeremy Smith, right in front of the referee, concedes another one. So Wales getting good possession here. Can they do something with this now? New Zealand for the first time in their game forced into defending that line. Jordan James going sideways, back to where the ball came from virtually. Budworth sizing things up, finds Lloyd White. White finds Breers. Breers ships it on to Tyson Frizzell, and they can't do anything about that, and it's picked up by Kevin Locke, and the chance goes begging for Wales.
Just went a little bit too early, the second row, Tyson Frizzell there. The idea was good. The New Zealanders, they realise that the one man they've got to keep an eye on is Lee Breers, the skipper. The idea, you could see that Frizzell was coming on the angle, but he just was a little bit too high and came a bit early.
Iestyn Harris so close there, his side. If that pass had stuck, Tyson Frizzell could have been through for his second try in Welsh colours.
You often see that though, when a defender runs up to the ball player like Lee Breers, they throw the ball harder than it probably needs to be. The fear of maybe being hit in the collision speeds up the pass and forces it too hard. Just too much force on the ball for him to catch.
Good defence from Christian Reitz on Thomas Luluai. There's a Welshman in trouble in back play. I think it's Tyson Frizzell, and Frizzell puts his hand up and is seeking assistance from the physio, and well taken by Elliot Keir. Bradford Bulls player to be next season. Runs it back well, but then has the misfortune to run into Jeremy Smith. But it was good work from Keir, continuing the form he showed against England last week.
Move! Come back.
And Tyson Frizzell out of shot. He's having to leave the field. It's a problem for the Welsh.
The forward pass makes a bigger problem now for Wales. They're conceding possession inside their own half. Lost a player last week to injury, losing a second one here now with Frizzell, but Budworth's pass it to Webster, according to the officials, has gone forward.
Step on the 10, fellas.
And the Cronulla Sharks player Tyson Frizzell heading for the sidelines, and that looks ominous. That left wrist already heavily strapped. Whether that's the end of his Four Nations, well, that's possibly a bit premature, but he's in trouble. And England, New Zealand in possession.
Okay, that's fine.
And with Nightingale, try score already, trying to go on the outside, but good defence from the Welsh so far. Marshall bats it back, still going backwards. The referee said that went backwards from Marshall. Looked as though it went forwards the first touch. But Kiwis have it back.
I thought his pass to Nightingale was absolutely brilliant. Again, he threw the ball in front. It was the invitation to take his opposite winger on the outside. He stayed on the field, but just a fantastic pass.
Fufu Moimoi is on for New Zealand. He's replaced Sam McKendry, I think. McKendry going off for the nose treatment, and here come the Kiwis again. And that is good defence on Sika Manu, but not for long because he's got the ball down, or has he, says the referee. He wants video ref Ben Thaler to have a look at this.
Well, some of the Welsh players asked him to check for obstruction on the previous try with so many decoy and option runners in black jerseys. Thomas Luluai runs from the dummy half area, puts the ball behind Jeremy Smith, then into four, and it's a bump and grind, isn't it, from Sika Manu. Pushes off Breers. I don't think there's much doubt here that this try will be awarded. Jeremy Smith, the clear option here. The ball goes to him, behind him I should say. There's no obstruction. The Welsh defenders have chosen to commit to that man.
Should have had him down. They realise that. Sika Manu, upper body strength, but again, the problem in defence for the Welsh outfit is the fact they're allowing Thomas Luluai run away from dummy half position right across the face of the defence. As soon as they hesitate, you're always going to put yourself in a lot of problems. But it was poor defence, and they know it.
So often during the Super League season we've seen tries like that disallowed for obstruction, but Jeremy Smith's run there is going to be given the all clear, I'm sure, by video ref Ben Thaler, and Wales concede another try.
Well, I thought the pass went behind. The man was clear of him. He was on the outside of him, not the inside, without getting into a too technical issue. I don't think there was any obstruction. And the powerhouse here now, Sika Manu's power really the telling factor in this try. Defenders in the way, but this is the pass. Look, the invitation there for Jason Nightingale to take Rhys Williams on the outside. Okay, he didn't make it. I love it when a player passes it to invite their teammate to run onto it, as the occasion here. Kieran Foran pops it up nice and soft there for Sika Manu. It allows him to take the ball and also worry about the defenders who are going to hit him. Push them away, hits himself in reverse, spins and reverses out of the tackle, then presses hard for the line.
Marshall's conversion attempt, third time lucky for the Kiwi captain. And a few seconds ago Marshall landed that one, and New Zealand ahead by 14 points to 0, and having been under pressure on their own try line, they've come back up the other end and made Wales pay. And Sika Manu, who was a member of last year's triumphant Four Nations side, extending their lead. Fufu Moimoi charging that ball back, but good defence from the Welsh, from Andy Braychek, who's out there on the field. Fufu Moimoi has been hurt there. He's limping away after the play the ball, and that ball's gone forward. Another mistake from the Kiwis. Alex Glenn putting it down. Wales will have it back.
Well, this is something that Brian Carney spoke about 20 minutes or so into the match, when some of the emotion has faded away here now, and you're into the reality of the match. Can Wales now find an energy here with an invitation now, 6 players inside their opponent's half? What have they got? Do they still have that enthusiasm and optimism to attack and take the game to New Zealand?
Fufu Moimoi actually having treatment on the field at the moment. That's the reason for the delay. Referee Mr. Chechen allowing him to have that treatment. It doesn't look convincing.
I think he's got an ankle problem, Bill. I think he may have rolled early in that tackle before in the last set of 6, but he's clearly hobbling now, and he's in a lot of trouble, a lot of discomfort. He wants to stay on the field. Here he is now. He's got 3 men in the tackle. You can see he falls awkwardly. You'll probably see the ankle just go underneath here. He'll want to stay on the field because he'll want match time. And he clearly, I'm just watching him in the back play now. I think he's going to leave the field, Bill.
Yeah, he's hobbling towards his own try line at the moment, Fufu Moimoi, right in the back of the New Zealand line, and virtually off the field. In fact, as Wales come forward, can they trouble the Kiwi defence? Here's Kopjak. Breers now. Breers fires the pass to Jones. Jones out wide to Williams. Williams trying to use his strength, couldn't get the ball, just didn't get to him in time. Christian Reutz now. Here's Lloyd White, but White having to take that in the air. By the time he hit the ground, the Kiwis were there.
Good opportunity by Wales. The Kiwis were down to only 12 men. They couldn't get the substitute on. They've got him on now.
On the last, it's with Breers. Breers stabs the grubber kick in. It's a great one. Oh, and they've bombed it. They've bombed it. Webster it is, who couldn't collect the ball. And a chance goes begging for Wales. It was a brilliant kick.
Perfect. We've seen Benji Marshall's kicks at one end of the field. Lee Breers shows an equal to that. But his teammate cannot control possession, and that's the fine line, isn't it, in this sport? The highest level, turning those chances into 6 points makes all the difference.
Knock on by Webster. Knock on by Webster. Could have been a try by Webster, and that meant it was a 20-metre restart already. The Kiwis are on a roll. But Breers living up to his billing. They said, the Kiwis, that he's about the only player we've heard of in this Welsh side. That's why they'd heard of him, that sort of kicking game. And that's shown that Wales, if they can turn this Kiwi side round, could yet trouble them. That's the 5th tackle. Here is Foran. Kicking to the corner, cross comes fullback Danny Jones, and Jones, Keir alongside him, and Keir did well there to gather that ball. A horror pass from his colleague.
He's a very good player, and I bet the Bradford Bull supporters are delighted to see how well he's playing here for Wales. A huge future, I think, over the next 5 years. Elliot Keir could to go on to be one of the best players in this in the UK.
And that's great news for rugby league in South Wales. Elliot Keir, one of the group of players who've come through. New Zealand conceding another penalty. Ironically, Thomas Luluai saying ahead of this game that it seemed as though anything goes as far as the ruck and the play the ball goes so far, but Mr. Chechen tightening up on things perhaps.
Well, I think the referees are closely watching Jeremy Smith, his reputation for being tight in those tackles. Clearly there was an elbow to his face and he spotted it and penalised it.
Here's Braychek. Andy Braychek had an injury troubled season, just came good at the end of the campaign, played for the Crusaders late on. Ross Devorty now on the field at Wembley, just as his dad Gary was in 1985 for Hull FC. And Gary Devorty in the crowd here today watching son Ross playing for Wales. Proud day for the Devorty family. Proud day for Lee Breers leading this Welsh side and leading them forward again. And New Zealand, after dominating early on, having to do a bit of defending here. Here's Kopczak, and they'll get the penalty. The Kiwis in discipline being punished here. And referee Matt Chechen has called out Jeremy Smith. Well, you picked it out a moment ago, Phil.
Well, I know the Australian camp aren't particularly happy with some of the things he's done.
Got a report. Attacking the calf while he's on the ground. It's a low act, mate. Penalties here. We don't want any more of it. Yeah. Going with the calf for the calf. Wait.
Attacking the calf or lower leg area, it's obviously when players are held in that dangerous position, to hit very low is potentially a dangerous act, and that's why he was penalised.
So, a great opportunity for Wales. They blew a chance a moment ago. Can they create another one now? It's with Beasley, who plays the ball. Lloyd White's pass finds Kopczak. Budworth looks left, goes left, finds Breers. Breers, little dummy, but he's immediately cut down. Luluai saw that coming. He's seen Breers enough this season. But Wales aren't done yet. They trail 14-0 here. 26 minutes gone. Opportunity for them here now. The ball is still alive. It's with Breers. Breers will take him on. Stabs the kick in. It's too strong. Braychek couldn't get there in time. Devorty couldn't get there in time. Just too strong.
Well, the invitation for 3 of the Welsh players, but the kick rolled over the dead ball line, and before you know it, New Zealand have restarted play, and they're off almost on their way towards halfway.
But it's a good response from Wales after being on the rack early on.
Oh, it's a terrific response, Bill, and it's the sort of response that you'd expect when you see players with the ball, Welsh team with the ball. They're excited. Lee Breers, people around him. He's causing all sorts of havoc there because he's showing all his experience, shows and goes, plays the ball inside, outside. Wales were unlucky not to score there, but what they've shown is a great ability to build pressure.
You might have just thought to repeat as well, though. Jeremy Smith putting a knee onto a Welsh calf, and that's why he was penalised.
Sly little challenge that.
again, we've said how well New Zealand and maybe Australia as well at times have started games in that first 10 or 15 minutes. For the last 10 or 15 minutes, there hasn't been as much difference between the two sides. Perhaps the only difference being the amount of metres that New Zealand make when they kick the ball to gain ground.
Well, it's been an incident-packed game. There's been a bit of blood spilled as well, and we can get news on just on the body count at the moment from Rod Studd on sidelines.
Well, Bill, you and the guys in commentary have been talking about Wales getting fatigued, and that may well be the case due to the amount of defending they've had to do, but they'll be running short on bodies as well soon, because Tyson Frizzell's gone off. Nothing to do with the strapping on his left arm. It's an elbow problem that they're reassessing in the changing room at the moment, but they've also lost Rhys Williams, who came off with a very painful back injury a moment or two ago and went straight down the tunnel. As far as New Zealand are concerned, well, Fufu Moi is on the sidelines as well, getting strapped up, and he looks in a bit of pain as well, so it has been a brutal battle so far, as you suggest.
Rhys Williams injured, and I think trying to go in the corner when he had that great opportunity, which means that Christian Wrights, I think, has moved out onto that left side of things for Wales.
Move!
So that's a blow for the Welsh. And here's Foran now, just inside the Welsh half. 4 tackles gone for the reigning Four Nations champions, the Kiwis. Under a bit of pressure going into this. Lost 4 of the last 5 internationals. Okay, all 5 of those were against Australia, but it's a habit is winning, and they're out of that habit at the moment. Expected to win handsomely here, but they lead coming up to half an hour by only 14 points. Oh, that was high on Elliot Keir.
Got away with it, but I must say that the Kiwis, their kick and chase game has been quite superb. Okay, it's difficult when you get raised to a 14-0 lead and, well, maybe hit the shoulder rather than into the face. Got away with that one, could have been penalised.
Foran just pulling out in time, I think.
But that's the one thing that Stephen Kearney will be very, very pleased about, is the fact that kick and chase has been superb and not allowing the Welsh side any opportunity to get into their half.
Wales are going to have to come up with something special, but they've come close, mainly through the kicking of this man Breers, and Breers inside his own 40 puts the kick in, but it's across the field and it's taken by Kevin Locke. Locke, though, quickly closed down. Referee calls held as Braychek makes the tackle. Here's Jason Nightingale, scorer of the first try of the afternoon here at Wembley. Double header, of course, England-Australia to come. And now it's Elijah Taylor, the young man making his debut for the Kiwis. Nearly losing the ball there as well, the young New Zealand warrior, 21 years of age. Here's Lewis Brown. Brown plays the ball. Again down the short side. It's with Alex Glenn. Several big names missing from this New Zealand touring party, but still some very talented players out there. The kick goes up in the air and will come down for another New Zealand try, or will it, through Sika Manu. The referee happy with that. No need to go to the video ref, and Sika Manu gets his second try of the game. I wondered whether referee Mr. Checher might look at the grounding of that, but he had a good view of it. Sika Manu bangs it down in the corner. So he gets his second of the game. And the Kiwis extend their lead, having just had to defend their own line for a while, releasing the shackles and getting up the other end of the field.
Benji Marshall just sat back for a while and introduced himself at the right time. The accuracy of the kick again, just a few metres short of the try line, invitingly 10 or 15 metres in from touch as well. The centre and winger for Wales, unsure really who had responsibility for it. Having to move so far, wasn't sure. None of them really got up convincingly. Sika Manu, punching around the back like a right winger, dives over for his second try.
And again, the kicking game from Benji Marshall. Pinpoint accuracy from him. As far as his open field kicking is, it's the goal kicking that might be a concern for the Kiwis, because when you think of the long tradition they have of accurate goal kickers, the likes of Frano Botica, Matthew Ridge, Daryl Halligan, who's sitting just along from us commentating for New Zealand TV, just at the moment, that might be a department where they come up short. Having said which, Marshall will land this from the sidelines, which he does! What problem? But there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, to be fair. He's expected to provide so much for the side, plus kick the goals.
It's field kicking that's been the difference, I would say. Plus, you'd have to say the effort that the New Zealand players make here to chase the kicks that he puts up. Something to gain ground, something to try to score from. That was clearly one that they wanted to convert into points, and Stephen Kearney sees 6 more added to the scoreboard.
Yeah, and Phil, I think that's probably the difference in the game, isn't it? When New Zealand get themselves into an attacking opportunity, you actually sense that they're likely to score. But when Wales have been there, we've all been hopeful that Wales are going to score, but you just know that they haven't quite got that polish and quite got that finish. And 20-0 scoreline with 6.5 minutes left before half-time is indicative, I think, of the fact that New Zealand have just shown a lot of authority and have shown a lot of class and skill when they've been in try-scoring situations.
You have a degree of sympathy for Wales. Having lost last week, New Zealand, and lost in the week before that when they played back down in Australia, you knew that Stephen Kearney was going to demand an improvement. The fact that they haven't missed a single tackle in half an hour or 33 minutes of this game shows how intent they are on playing well today.
Ellery Hanley in the crowd back at Wembley, scene of so many of his great days. And oddly, might seem to some, Ellery Hanley handed the Kiwis their jerseys at a special ceremony at their hotel last night. He was New Zealand's guest for the event. It's a role that's been filled by various other prominent sporting figures previously, and they invited Ellery to come and do it for them last night, and she gladly did. New Zealand, for the first time really, in an attacking position, coming up with an error.
Kieran Foran puts himself in a position to knock it back just to miss, lock the fullback, and eventually just knocks it on before towing it through. But they've got as many people as possible contesting the ball when it comes down from the heavens.
Come together. Short couple.
Wales just taking their time at this scrum, just an opportunity maybe to get a bit of breath back. 35 minutes gone. They trail here by 20 points to 0. Could have points on the board. They'll look back on a couple of opportunities in that first half, which they didn't capitalise on. At this level of things, you've got to take those chances when they come your way. Here's Budworth. Budworth, half break from the former London Broncos player Neil Budworth, now a Mackay cutter in Queensland. Still very much, when you talk to him, a Wiganer. That's the 5th tackle as Dudson plays the ball, and Breers, a little bit of room for him, chip the kick into open space, looking for Keir, and instead it's Locke, the fullback, who gathers it and would try and get away now. In fact, it's Gerard Beale.
Great counter-attack from Beale, playing on that left wing. Primarily played as a fullback this season, shifted around throughout his career, but shows his versatility and his natural rugby instinct when he gets the ball to find space.
And again, you can see quite clearly that once the Kiwis get the ball, they get into the Welsh half very, very early in the tackle count. The Wales side have only been able to do that on 2 occasions in this first half. Shows you the difference between the quality of the two sides. Bit of a swinging arm there. Got away with it from Kopchak.
Blood on the head of Chris Beasley, just in the back of the picture there. Former Crusader, and again the Kiwis have spilled the ball, and Gil Dudson, who I think will become a Wigan player in 2012, gathers it and plays the ball, and forward comes Brejcek over the 40-metre line.
There's always the potential when a side are 20 points up that they're maybe dropping their intensity, and that's possible that could happen to New Zealand. I'm sure it's a message driven across the team from the captain, Benji Marshall. Got to maintain the standards.
3, Jared now.
White. Lloyd White will be a Widnes Vikings player next season, another one who's moved on after the Crusaders meltdown. Budworth, good work from him. That's the 5th tackle. Spirited first half performance from this Welsh team, but Breers kicks against the grain, looking for Jones. Jones bats it back and was taken in the air, was he? No, was offside. Wishful thinking there.
And that's something else that we take for granted, isn't it? When so many of the New Zealand players have got up to possession, they have had the discipline to stay behind the kicker. Perhaps a nervousness from Jones at fullback, set off too quickly, didn't back himself with his own pace.
Kiwis having to wait 37 minutes for their first penalty of the game, which, given the dominance they've had, is curious.
Hold Lloyd.
They have the ball back. And here is Sikamanu, 2 tries already, and trying to emulate Francis Smelly and Leslie Vainikolo, who have hat-tricks against the Welsh in previous meetings in the 2000s.
This looks here now, 2 players have gone in, and I'm sure Benji Marshall is demanding his hands here at some stage. You know, they've got the full width to attack, they're rolling forward, their opponent's in reverse.
Fien had his hand raised, screaming for the ball. Marshall has it in his hands now, but the pass along the ground, and Beale picks it up, and New Zealand keep it alive, went backwards, said the referee, and good footwork from Gerard Beale, the Brisbane Broncos player.
Tremendous work by Beale, and they're up in the ante now, trying on that short blind side.
Oh, great pass, finds Alex Glenn, and Glenn out wide, and Beale will get his name on the score sheet. His first try in Kiwi colours. The magical handling from the men in black. And Gerard Beale, 21 years of age, ever present for the Brisbane Broncos in all 27 games, but usually at fullback, on the wing for the Kiwis here, and joining their list of try scorers in a first half that they've dominated.
Good work, good build-up, and they could see that they'd come out of their position, so it was short on that blind side. When you've got the numbers like that, it's all about thinking quickly, and the Kiwis certainly did on that occasion. Watch how the defence comes out of it. You could see Ian Webster went through, and there was no way that Breers was going to get anywhere to cause any disruption. He started it with some fine footwork, did Gerard Beale, and gets the reward of the 4 points.
Brisbane Broncos combination there with Alex Glenn helping create that try for his club colleague. And now then Benji Marshall, continuing a long tradition of fine Kiwi goal kickers with this one. And Wales behind their own try line again. Marshall, the ground still filling up as Marshall adds to New Zealand's tally right at the end of the first half. 26-0 they lead. England, Ben Westwood there in the ground already, waiting for their turn on this pitch. Steve McNamara getting a good chance to see next week's opponents in action, but it's this week we're on about. It's New Zealand against Wales, and the first half that New Zealand have dominated. They need to win this one after their defeat last week by Australia to stay alive in the tournament. Well, very much that, because they have dominated this first half from the word go, throwing the gauntlet down, and Wales really struggling to compete. The Kiwis ahead of the break by 26 points to 0.
Well, here we are at Wembley, the start of this double-header. We are watching at the moment Wales and New Zealand, but coming up later it's England against Australia. It's live on HD. It will be live in stunning 3D as well. They kick off at 3:30. But in the dressing rooms at Wembley, Wales and New Zealand, because it's 26-0 to the Kiwis at half-time. To be fair to the Welsh, they have not thrown the towel in here, and they have had a couple of chances themselves. Justin Harris will know that. 26-0 at half-time. It is, and always was going to be, a massive mountain for the Welsh to climb, and it suddenly has got a lot bigger right now. But the Kiwis and their coach Stephen Kearney, the last time, of course, that he was here as a player, his New Zealand side lost to Great Britain by 17 points to 0. Here at half-time, is 2011 version of the Kiwis are ahead by 26 points to 0. But fair play, John Wells. Wales haven't thrown the towel in.
No, they haven't, Eddie, but the Kiwis were always going to give Wales a stern enough test without Wales making positional errors like these. 4 on the short side against 1 Kiwi in attack. And also I'm going to pick up on Danny Jones here at fullback. He's out of position for me. He should be there by now. He's not. That's a full 10 metres out of position. Once the ball gets out to Benji Marshall, this is exaggerated now. We'll see just how far out of position he is. Here he is again. And this is probably where he should be by now, so he can at least challenge in defence Nightingale's run to collect this kick. He's not able to do that, and Nightingale takes advantage to open the scoring there for New Zealand. Wales did rock a few heads in defence, but ultimately only delaying the inevitable. They were unlucky here, though. This is Locke who we're tracking, but Jeremy Smith, I feel, has obstructed Jordan James there as we slow this down. That point there, really, not able to get to Kevin Locke, who's able to scoot through. Great player, this guy. Watch out for him in years to come. New Zealand are just getting into the position so easily because of plays like these. This is Fui Fui Moi Moi, and he gets through the line with so easily with 3 Wales defenders grasping and grappling at him to little effect. And off the back of that, Jeremy Smith at his on this occasion takes easy yards with very little resistance from the Welsh defence. That's 20 easy yards in 20 easy metres in 2 simple plays, and that led to Sikamanu's try. This was more a simple question of pure strength and power, and here it is here. Once the ball gets into this guy's hand, he's very, very dynamic in attack. Now, at that point, though, you've got to say 4 Wales players potentially could have affected that outcome. Sikamanu, too big, too strong. Wales had a great opportunity to put points on the board on the 20-minute mark. Breers is kicked through, and Ian Webster, he'll be kicking himself. Although I'll tell you, Lee Breers will probably kick him first. Sikamanu then crossed for his second, again following another great kick. But it's the kick chase, 4 versus 3 on the kick chase here. More Kiwi shirts than Wales shirts. Webster under pressure. He errors, and that's Sikamanu there who picks up his second, takes full advantage. And then it was Beale on the stroke of half-time who took the score to 26. And again, it's Marshall. Look at the footwork from this guy. Wrong foots, 5 Wales defenders. The ball gets passed outside, and unselfishly they're passed on to Beale, who scores. Now, the problem for Wales is that they're just not simply winning that first up collision. We showed you a couple of clips with Fui Fui Moi Moi and Jeremy Smith doing just that. They're so big, they're so powerful, these Kiwis. And Marshall and Foran have been able to play off the back of that. Wales are just about still in touch with this game. If they want to stay in touch with this game, but they're going to have to address that first and foremost. But that's easier said than done, Eddie.
Very much so, but well done to the Welsh. They've shown a lot of guts, they've shown a lot of spirit, determination, courage, but sadly that doesn't win rugby league internationals, particularly at this level against the Kiwis. And from an English point of view, Phil, we're all praying here that Wales do something second half, because if it comes down to points difference next week against New Zealand, we don't need to have such a big job to do.
When you consider the unequal distribution of possession to start this match, that New Zealand exclusively had the ball, didn't they, in Wales half the field, it's quite amazing that there's still only 5 tries. If we look at the story of the half here, the possessions that both sides have had, you can see on the right-hand side, New Zealand have had far more than the Welsh team, really, and all of those white charts, really, the tackle after tackle that they're having to make, the Welsh team, almost starved of possession. You could almost say for the first 20 minutes of that half, 2 tries for New Zealand on the right-hand side. It started to even up a little bit. Some penalties, the P's you can see at the end of sets, gave them something to do with it. But then again, some more of the key performance indicators. Offloads, 8-1. Breaks, 10-0. And they're converting the break. In fact, the offloads as well, successful. Gaining ground when they've made the ball, you know what I mean? Ones that are actually advantageous to the team. The completion rates, we look at the percentage, the possession. I think that so much of that possession was interesting, really, that it was inside their opponent's half, and that's a massive advantage for New Zealand here with the quality that they've got in this play. So all of those were really well. But what I thought was pleasing for Wales was the attention that they were giving to the coach there. They clearly have faith and respect in what he says. They were listening so intently to what Iestyn Harris had to deliver that they still have faith in what he can do to help them for the second 40.
Yes, he's got a big job. Wales have got a big job, Sean. I mean, it was difficult to begin with. It's mission impossible now.
I think it's difficult, Eddie, when you go into a contest where everybody expects you to come second. It is very hard. And when you get out there and the reality hits you and all of a sudden it's, well, they are big and they're strong and they're quick and they've got great skill. They're just trying to hang on. Wales are trying to hang on. They're trying their best, but they're simply outclassed. New Zealand are far too big. They get themselves into good field position very quickly, and they're able to take advantage. Kieran Foran and Benji Marshall, very clever with the ball in their hands. The kicking game has been excellent. Wales, on the other hand, when they've had the ball, have tried to take some chances. They've taken some risks. They've had to, because it's the only way they can play. And Lee Briers has looked dangerous, and people around him have probably not helped him quite as much as they could have, but they just haven't been clinical enough to finish off. And consequently, you're hanging on defensively, and eventually that just wears you out. The fatigue factor comes in. You know, Stephen Kearney will want this team, New Zealand, to go on and win by a big score. I think if you're an English supporter, obviously you want Wales to rattle up some points as well and make it interesting.
Well, it would be good from an English point of view. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen with them in the game against Australia that follows this, but the English will be hoping that the Welsh can cut down the winning margin if they can, with their guts, determination, the spirit that we've already talked about. The boys are going back up to the television gantry now. That's Sean and Phil, who will be joined by Steve-O and Bill. And Graham Beecroft will lead the scene, of course, in 3D for you after we come back after this next short break. It's the second half that's on the way. We're in HD, we're in stunning 3D today at Wembley Stadium. The double header as Rugby League returns to Wembley. Second half coming for you live.
Well, to come here at Wembley, the second half of this Four Nations double-header as England take on Australia. That kicks off at 3:30, but we have continuous coverage here from the stadium, and it's a game that's available in 3D. And what a great venue to see the 3D spectacle, but it's not been a pretty spectacle for Wales in this first 40 minutes as New Zealand are ahead by 26 points to 0, and Sika Manu has 2 of those tries. But the crowd's still filling up here, and the England fans coming in, and of course London's expat community, the Kiwis and the Aussies here in good number. Lots of green and gold in the ground, and I'm not sure who he's supporting, but more conventional Australian hairstyles. Big initiative here at the game today as well on behalf of Wheelchair Rugby League, the Rugby League Foundation, and launching a campaign to raise £15,000 to support funding for the sport, which is growing all the time. And Wales get the second half underway, and will they be able to dent the Kiwi defence in this second half? They had a couple of opportunities which they'll look back on, but generally the Kiwis were able to score at will in the first 40 minutes without really being stretched so far in this game. You get the feeling that they're keeping something in reserve for next weekend. Decisive game by all judgment against England at the KC Stadium in Hull. Sorry, Steve-O.
Oh, I'm just saying, Bill, that the coach Stephen Kearney will be quite happy with it 26-0 at half-time, but the one thing that he'll be concerned about is that they really haven't been as dominant that I expected, the Kiwi forwards. And they really need a good hitch out. And they've got to do that in this second half. They can't just rely on saying, we'll hit the high spots next week. They've got to show it in this second half.
Christian Wrights takes the ball up for Wales. Here's Ross Devorty, had a great season with Featherstone Rovers in the Championship, finishing off, of course, with a grand final triumph. And Gil Dudson now. Good strong run from him. He's a big guy, Dudson. Happy to take Jeremy Smith on there, and Briers looping pass from him finds Elliot Keir. Keir comes back in field, ducks under the first challenge, and then back comes Lewis Brown to complete the tackle. That's the 5th, and Briers hoisted across field. It's hanging in the air. And very well taken by Beale, I think it was. Two tackles gone.
Well, a brilliant and a confident catch by a young fullback who's at the top of his game. Roger, thrilled here to play at Wembley. Look, getting involved here to assist his teammates. He doesn't want to see anybody driven back. They don't want to lose any ground when they've got possession. try as much as possible to gain ground. And I think they're using the full width of the field here.
Trying to, but the pass shooting through Marshall's hands. They're losing a bit of momentum there, the Kiwis. That's the 5th tackle.
Can Wales find pressure on the kicker?
Marshall under pressure from Kopjak and managing to get free of that pressure and gets the kick away. Finds Danny Jones. Opportunity to hear first time in the second half from Rod Studd on the sidelines.
Yeah, thanks Bill. And Stephen Kearney, the New Zealand coach, indeed pretty happy with what he's seen during the first half, calling for more of the same and just to be patient. I think they believe that their class and quality will eventually tell as Wales tire towards the end of this match. Well, Iestyn Harris saying that he's pretty happy with the way his side have dealt with what New Zealand have thrown at them when New Zealand have had the ball, just a little bit disappointed with their composure with the ball themselves, and they've spoken a lot about in the changing room about respecting possession more and not turning it over inside their own half. That's been the key message from the Welsh coaching staff.
Brejcek plays the ball. Short pass from Kopjak into Breers, trying to get a imaginative pass away but couldn't do that. That's the 5th tackle.
A measure of the quality of New Zealand's defence. Even when Wales are able to find the offload, the man who receives possession is instantly trapped in possession. Kick goes up and Nightingale here now finding space.
Danny Jones who eventually had to put the kick in for Wales. First Mexican wave of the afternoon goes round the ground.
Well, it won't help the Welsh team here now as they concede penalty. And Nightingale, so many wingers who've got that evasion can find themselves between defenders. They wriggle around for a quick play of the ball, and if the defenders don't release him, the referee will add 30 metres on with a kick downfield.
So New Zealand on the 30 metre line in the Welsh half. It's with Adam Blair. This is his first game since he was sent off against Manly at Brookvale Oval in August. Probably a little rusty after that infamous incident. It's put a dark stain on the game down under.
He is one of the best forwards in the world. 10 weeks though is quite some time to be prevented from doing your work.
Blair plays the ball. Feen, Marshall. Oh, what a take that was. Brilliantly taken. That's the 5th tackle. And Marshall. Now Feen. And crossfield kick from him. And Keir again is under pressure. Keir gets it at the 2nd attempt. And they force a goal line drop out to the Kiwis.
Well, a brilliant kick. He's challenged in the air, isn't he, by Beale. Can't take it on the first attempt, knocks it backwards and grounds it. Grounding in your in-goal area. Will this be now the 5th goal line dropout that Wales have had to make in 45 minutes?
You know, Phil, sometimes it's one of those skills that's taken for granted as kicking in our game, but New Zealand today have been absolutely superb. They've put the ball on the spot, exactly where they want to put. Their chasers have been in great position, and they can all leap for the ball. They've put Wales under enormous pressure.
Nothing silly to say.
Wales were trying to suggest to referee Mr. Chechen that Elliot Keir had been taken in the air, which is the reason why he had to have 2 attempts to ground that ball. Referee deaf to their pleading and conceding the penalty, the Welsh. Gil Dudson trying to slow things down there.
Similar pattern to the first half, didn't they? New Zealand starting too quickly, too strongly for the Welsh to handle. Blair sets them up centre field. They can attack either left or right from here.
Nathan Feen. Change of direction from him. Lovely pass. And the ball still managing to get away from Lewis Brown. Went forward, says the referee.
Well, a compliment to Elliot Keir. He was the man who got up on Brown quickly, forced the error. He might not have been able to take the catch in goal. He's helped his team to get the ball back.
Beale, the first half try scorer for New Zealand, who lead 26-0 here. Remember, England beats Wales 42-4 last week in the opening round of the Four Nations. The game just lacking in a bit of pace at the moment, and Wales probably quite happy at that.
Yeah, it's important for the Welsh though that they don't drop in the pace or intensity when they receive position. I know they're working so hard to defend, but just look how quickly the three jerseys are on them, and they need to try and match that. New Zealand again, still according to our records here, have still not missed a single tackle in this match yet.
Dudson doing well to keep that ball alive. And picked up by Kopczak, and a good break again by the big Bradford. Balls forward up to the halfway line, and he's put at least Wales on the front foot.
Well, a positive offload gets them out to their own half. Greer's now in possession and kicks for the corner
and invites Keir to chase. It just hits the ground, and Wales will be happy with that. At least they've forced the Kiwis to retreat and bring the ball out.
Yeah, good offload, wasn't it? No one. The ball carrying arm, or the ball doesn't touch the ground, and that's play on.
I didn't think so.
But a beautiful kick yet again. Lee Briers into the corner. Okay.
I didn't think so, mate, but you could be right.
He's just trying to slow the game down. He knows he's up against could be formidable opposition in New Zealand, but there again, you know, Sean McRae, I just get the feeling that, okay, are they going through the routine, this New Zealand side, or is it that Stephen Kearney, they really need to get their forwards? They don't seem to be taking control as much as what I anticipated.
Yeah, I agree with you, Steve. I think what New Zealand are trying to do is play this game as if it was a tough physical encounter. I don't think they want to get into that habit of throwing the ball around too much and offloading and just having that sort of carefree approach. I think they want to treat this as, forget the score line, we want a tough workout.
Quicker, boys!
Here's Nightingale.
Three
tackles gone. Jordan James warned by the referee, and he managed to clear the ruck in time. Smith plays the ball.
Well, there's a pretty ruthless simplicity about New Zealand. When they have possession in their own half, they just want to get downfield.
Kickers clear, that's
their intent is to invade their opponent's territory and then score points. Brilliant catch by Danny Jones.
Jones has put it down, and it's been picked up by Alex Glenn, and Glenn now has lost the ball. That's good defence from Christian Wright. Great defence from the South African, and it's left to Alex Glenn on his knees at the back of the field.
Well, if New Zealand adopt a similar approach next week, the backfield catches for England will have to be very good, because the kicks have been high and dangerous, and pressure on the catcher whenever the balls come down. But some nice here, a counter-attacking play, upping the speed with which Wales want to take the game to New Zealand.
And Jones felt that challenge. And, you know, I think it was Jeremy Smith again who was involved.
Fifth and last, get out!
Steve McNamara getting a good look at the Kiwis. James Lowe's sitting just in front of him, the part of the England coaching setup. Lowe's, try-scorer here in the last international played on this ground when Great Britain played Australia in the Super League Test match in 1997.
Yeah, and his boss Steve McNamara was one of the subs that day, came on 14 years ago. They'll be hoping though for a happier result later on after this game.
Wait. There we go.
Kiwis yet to score in this second half. 10 minutes gone. And Wales managing to keep them at bay so far. That's probably tempting fate from the Welsh perspective, because they keep it alive, then Marshall puts the kick in, and Nightingale is pursuing it, but not with the same sort of speed he pursued the early kick. And Wright, well, he just thought, right, it's Marshall, I'll have a go.
You know, they conceded penalty. I was going to say that their main focus seems to be on winning field position, Sean. I know they've not scored points, but they've kept it pretty simple with an intent, and maybe the way they want to prepare for how they play against England and Australia if they make the final is to improve the field position they've had in recent Test matches.
Well, you're quite right, Phil, and it's a series, isn't it? And sometimes you'll play against a certain side the way that you don't want to play, you know, the following week, or you may want to play something different the following week. So there could be just changing tactics ever so slightly. I just think New Zealand are just so focused on doing the little things well, and they're not worrying about the scoreline.
Can Wales break through this Kiwi defence? There was a suggestion of that in the second half. They're doing well to contain the opposition, and Kopczak, as he did against the English last week, really is taking the battle to the opposition. Bradford Bulls can take a lot out of this tournament so far. Kopczak's form, that of Elliot Keir, their new recruit, and here's Jordan James, a Salford City Reds player next season. James struggling to get to his feet to play the ball. Here is Breers now. Breers fires the pass wide, and Keir picks it up. Oh, it's gone forward off Lloyd White, and the referee says that's a knock-on. And an opportunity goes begging, and Lloyd White knows.
Well, an adventurous and inviting pass from Lee Breers, but Lewis Brown was in front of the man receiving it, instantly closing down the chance for Webster. And then it's picking up scraps, isn't it, and doing your best. Lloyd White eventually knocks on. But a pretty good first 10-12 minutes there from Wales to start the second half.
Iestyn Harris and Barry Eaton alongside him on the gantry high up here at Wembley. Their side sticking in there.
Well, they've listened to the instruction and advice. I think that's what players want at half-time. What can you tell me that will help us play better in the second half? And we've certainly had some good things, and they've put them into practice.
Here's Alex Glenn.
Move! Oh, good weight, go.
I think the difference you'll find between this half by the Kiwis is the fact that in the first 40, Thomas Luluwai got into dummy half, has taken control, he was running away, but you'd just seen a very short pass from the substitute Nathan Feen throughout this second stanza. Now, whether that's a tactic that Stephen Kearney wants to look for and see whether the forwards can get over that back.
Kopczak again! Kopczak with another belter! And that's an indication of the commitment of this Welsh side. Oh, and Jones has come up with a howler. The ball's gone down, and all that hard work might come for nothing now, because Alex Glenn is in possession, and Danny Jones under pressure, spilling that ball. And the Kiwis, can they capitalise here now? They've got the numbers out wide. That goes miles forward, and Wright Nightingale won't be able to celebrate there. And that's a let-off for Wales. They had a numerical advantage out wide there, did the Kiwis.
Well, it's a great pass. I know you've said it's gone forward. Kopczak's tackle here on McKendry. Bang, well, it's a shoulder charge, isn't it, more than anything? He's left the field, and then you need some people who can catch it at the other end, though. If you're prepared to put the shoulder in the tackle, they couldn't take possession, yet they've just about survived with a forward pass. I'm pretty sure then Kopczak's shoulder charge was sufficient to send his opponent off the field.
McKendry was in the wars in the first half, wasn't he? He had that bloody nose. Well, Wales have certainly made a mark. They haven't made a mark on the scoreboard yet, but they've made a mark on one or two opponents.
I think they may have treated him. The physio came on and just about survived.
Just going back to that points difference we mentioned earlier on, they're doing England a favour, Wales, if they can restrict this Kiwi scoreline, which they're doing at the moment. 15 minutes into the second half. New Zealand looking for the first points. Flying forearm from Kieran Foran there. Flying forearm from Kieran Foran. That's a mouthful. It was nearly a mouthful for a Welsh player.
There was absolutely no fear, was there, in the half-back when he took himself forward here now. Wales almost been invited to move the ball wide, but the speed with which New Zealand moved up out wide just cut off that possession.
White struggling to get to his feet, missed the England game, and he gets up a little bit awkwardly there. Breers puts the kick in. Gerard Beale it is who fields it.
A good chase from Wales there now. 5 or 6 players here now. We're approaching the hour mark. There really is a confidence and a lift and a feeling that they're going toe-to-toe here with the Four Nations champions in this second half.
Webster coming back for more to complete the tackle. I beg your pardon, it was Ian Watson who was involved there. Just inside the Wales half, and off goes the fullback Kevin Locke. Darting run from him. And then the kick, another high hanging one. Nightingale goes up for it. Marshall follows up his own kick, puts the brakes on, comes back across the field, and then fires a pass across the park, and it's picked up by Alex Glenn, and Glenn hacks it forward, and Jones does well this time to gather that ball amongst the flying boots.
Well, I'd say a brave and brilliant effort by Wales here, repeatedly under pressure with these high tormenting kicks, surviving and just about counteracting, but the speed of the play of the ball's so clearly different now, isn't it? When the Welsh player's tackled, taking far longer look. Is that a technical thing or a strength thing?
Well, it's a combination of both, Phil, isn't it? They clearly are a bigger side, the Kiwis, but they also work a little bit harder in the air. You can see it now. Although that's a very good win, that's an offensive win. You should be allowed to play the ball a lot quicker than that.
Here's Ian Watson of the Swinton Lions, now the most Welsh capped Welsh international, I should say, winning his 30th cap today, and a survivor of the games against New Zealand in 2000 and 2002. The kick just finding touch before Christian Reitz could get there.
Ambitious little chip from Lee Briers. I think he'll always try that, won't he? You can sense that the winger for New Zealand has dropped deep, Nightingale, so he has to put it over and offer this chance for Reitz to go for it. Bounces and rolls out of play, but with a breather here now, I don't know, they've gone well. It's just that speed around the play of the ball area that would be the biggest concern.
New Zealand have topped 50 points in their last 2 games against Wales, and in the 2000 World Cup, Leslie Vainikolo got a hat-trick in a 58-18 win. But at the moment, Wales are restricting the Kiwis. New Zealand ahead 26-0, but that was the story at half-time. Coming up to the hour mark.
Come.
Referee Matt Chechen, I think he's got Welsh border colliers around him or something like that.
It's even more impressive when you look down there, the possession difference. For New Zealand to have over 60% of it and still not be able to score in the last 20 minutes, you've got to give some massive amount of credit to Iestyn Harris and his Welsh team.
But it's the Kiwi team motoring forward again. You get the feeling that if they've upped it a gear or two, then they could start to do a bit more damage. It was a good run from Jared Waerea-Hargreaves that's got them into this position on the 5th tackle, and Danny Jones can expect something coming his way from the boot of Benji Marshall. Marshall puts the kick in, but Keir read that one well, and again manages to turn and get things going in the right direction for the Welsh.
And a quicker play of the ball, that gives you a chance, doesn't it, when you receive possession. Must be an element of fatigue sitting in here now. How many of the red jerseys want to push forward and make ground?
Watch your leg pull.
Former York City Knight Ross Devorty plays the ball, so proud to be playing on the field, the same field that his dad played on back in the 80s. Thomas Luluai's dad, James, played in that memorable game as well in 1985 and was one of those late try scorers for the Black and Whites. That ball has come up for these Black and Whites from New Zealand.
Well, I get the impression that New Zealand are playing to a pattern, and that's the reason why that they've let Nathan Fien, so that they can get the forwards doing it, but it looks like Fien's going to be replaced with Thomas Luluai. We'll see a complete change now. We'll see a little bit more excitement from the play the ball area. Luluai will take them on like he did in the first half.
It's with Ben Matulino.
He held it.
Still a quarter of the game to go. Here is Thomas Luluai. Ball back on the inside to Alex Glenn.
Hand off now.
3 tackles gone. Marshall. Change of direction. The ball comes back across. And Waerea-Hargreaves plays it, and Luluai's pass. Wonderful ball into the hands of Gerard Beale. And Beale gets his 2nd of the game. Bullet pass from Tommy Luluai, the Wigan Warriors returning to the scene of a Challenge Cup triumph just a few months ago. And Wales not down and out, but they're on their knees now. And 21-year-old Gerard Beale gets his 2nd of the game.
Well, he was in the right place at the right time here. You know, some people have it and some people don't. But Thomas Luluai's vision and ability to spot in the split second that the man who had the greatest chance of scoring was Beale on the wing, and then deliver the pass is absolutely brilliant. World-class pass from a world-class player, just back on the field from a fresh rest and able to deliver the first try-scoring pass of the second half.
Beale, whose usual role at the Brisbane Broncos this season has been at full-back, but he looks very comfortable on that wing.
Well, interestingly, last season when he was in the reserve side for the Brisbane side up there, he actually played stand-off and loose forward, so a versatile, multi-talented player who seems to be able to play in almost every position.
Benji Marshall, who was the only non-Australian to figure in the awards at the International Awards night, staged at the Tower of London during the week here. A night that was dominated by Australians. Marshall, though, pushing that ball across the face of the post. 30 points to 0. He has missed some kicks at goal. 3 so far.
And that's the reason, Bill, why the New Zealand coach Stephen Kearney brought back onto the field of play Thomas Leuluai. He knows it's important now to get as many points on that scoreboard. It could be vital. The points difference to make that final is in his hands now, and he knows it. He has to get points, and that's the reason why he brought this fella back on the field of play.
Well, very similar tale to last week's game against Wales for England, because it was, after an hour in that game, 30-0 to England. Of course, they went on to win by 42 points to 4.
Okay, switch back box.
So the Kiwis can
move. Come.
just add even more edge to next week's game. If they can pile on the points in the last quarter here. Against a very dogged but wearying Welsh side. I mean, wearying from the point of view that they'll be getting weary after all the work they've done. They're still doing it there. Beasley involved. The man with no number, Chris Beasley, former Crusader.
Kick is clear.
Danny Jones this time under little pressure, able to run the ball back until he's met by Kieran Foran. Foran, star of Manly's grand final triumph. Elliot Keir. A good run from him.
Keep coming.
Well, again, the distance that New Zealand are able to get on those kicks, 35 or so metres, they kicked it partly because of the enthusiasm Kieran Foran has to chase. He goes as hard and quickly as he possibly can. Whoa! Survival, isn't it, for Wales? If you've got possession as Watson now, they do everything they can to get even close to the halfway line.
Hold. Good.
Breers has gone perhaps for a 40-20, but it's into the arms of Gerard Beale.
And he's kicked it 40 metres or so, but by the time he returns it, I suppose the overall gain's about 25 metres, and over the course of a match, that's a significant difference. If you can gain 10 metres or more every time you kick the ball and they kick it, this game is dominated on territory, and New Zealand have clearly won in that battle today.
Leuluai has sparked things up a bit for the Kiwis since he's come back on the field. Try scorer against the Rhinos in that Challenge Cup win. Crucial try, of course, on this ground.
4, move. Keep coming.
Good. Little shove at the play the ball by Wales, goes unnoticed by the referee. Breers very quickly up on Alex Glenn, but Glenn slips out from the first attempt. Kopczak there to add his support second time round. That's the fifth. And Marshall, well, this time it's Foran who stabs the kick in. Jones comes across, gathers the ball, and then he's gathered up by the Kiwi defenders.
Well, they'll see that as a success that he wasn't forced back in goal. So many times in the first half they were able to trap Wales and force that goal line dropout. And that domination of possession might be one of the reasons now why the New Zealand team look that little more fresh here as we approach the last 10 minutes.
The crowd would love to see Wales get some points on the board. Elliot Keir's try against England last week was greeted with delirious cheers from the Welsh contingent, but since that those couple of chances they had when Rhys Williams went close, Ian Webster had an opportunity. They really haven't managed to find any way through this Kiwi rearguard.
Well, that's the last tackle. I don't know what Wales were intending, but they'll probably lose possession here.
Hand over there, boys. That was all accidental, mate. Wait.
And New Zealand will get the ball back on the Welsh 30-metre line.
Up you go.
Well, he's trying to offload. I think he's aware, isn't he, that it is the last tackle. He didn't want to be trapped in possession, and Matalino now Well, the less than 20 metres to the Welsh line.
Thanks, boys.
Here's Alex Glenn, and Glenn has lost the ball. Keir has picked it up, and he'll counter for the Welsh. Big hit on Keir, but he bounces back up. Matalino put the shoulder in, and look at him go.
Let go now.
And the crowd lifting to the young Welsh winger. Ben Flower now. He'll be off to the Wigan Warriors next season. Big move for him. There is Elliot Keir. Well, he personally has had a great Four Nations so far. Here is Gil Dudson. Smith with the tackle. Lloyd White, good ball out wide to Christian Wright. Wright bounces off the first challenge. Stays in the field of play. He felt that, did Christian Wright, but he managed to keep a hold of the ball. Big shoulder charge on him. Here's Devorty now, and Wales will get the penalty. They were offside with the Kiwis.
Well, this will probably be the best chance to put points on in the remainder of the game.
There's the mark.
Who can find his way over the line and get the ball down?
Kopjak will have a go. The crowd urging the Welsh on, and the Kiwis are offside again. The discipline hasn't been great today.
Wait. Mark's up here, boys.
So Wales
Stay on the line.
get back-to-back penalties. Watson taps it himself. Short pass from him. Devorty now.
Okay, boys, hands away.
How he'd love a try on this ground like his dad got. Now it's with Lloyd White. White's pass on. Dudson has put it down, and Wales blow the chance.
Okay, that's 0.
Golden opportunity there. All he had to do is take it, and the big prop forward would have been in, and he couldn't do it.
And Dudson knows. Well, there was a Kiwi defender to contend with, but he's a big guy as Gil Dudson. That was maybe an opportunity for Wales there.
Well, this is pretty frantic now for the Kiwis. They've really got to start getting points, and they know it. They're running out of time. Clock's against them, and they'll be looking to rattle up another 12 points, and that'll be so vital for them.
Oh, surrender.
Adam Blair slipped as he went into the tackle there.
Move off the mark, shorten the 10, up you go.
Here is Marshall now. Marshall trying to work his magic. Short pass for Sika Manu. 2 tries to his name already for the big second rower. 5th tackle, and Marshall, will he try and put the winger under pressure? Crossfield kick, not the best. It's gone forward, and it'll be Wales ball. Referee says play on. Picked up by Lloyd White, and White offloads to Ben Flower.
Well,
upended by future club colleague Tommy Luluai.
The up and under has been a popular tactic that New Zealand have employed here today, both to the wingers and the fullbacks. On that occasion, Wales survived, and still a little bit of spirit left there in Braycheck and his Jordan James here. They've got any creativity. Can Breers manufacture an opportunity to find a gap for one of his teammates?
It's been a great effort, hasn't he, by the Welsh side in the second half, and the words of wisdom from the coach Tristan Harris obviously has worked, but they really have got over the advantage line a lot more than what they did in the first half.
Ian Watson trying to go up the middle.
Come, Jeremy.
Good.
Devorty again.
Let go.
That's the 5th tackle. Needs to be a good kick from the Welsh.
What?
It's with Breers. Breers, a little chip kick over the top. Kopjak chasing. He couldn't get it. It's not forward, and I think it was the hand of Kopjak.
Where you are, mate. Stay there.
Invention by Lee Breers, doesn't he? Puts it over, he knows that the defenders are there, but either Kopjak or Breers got a hand to it. And they won't get the ball back on that event.
Into the last 10 minutes here, 30 points to 0. 1 second half try by the Kiwis so far. And the England camp will probably back in the dressing room.
Watch your neck, watch your neck.
But Steve McNamara will be urging the Welsh on now. Keep them at bay.
Yeah, got him.
Short ball, and it's now with Gerard Beale, and Beale looking for a hat-trick, but great tackle, good work.
Well, nice.
Ian Webster it was.
The soft hands and the catching and passing was brilliant. The defence from Webster equally impressive.
Marshall, and they've gone from one side of the field to the other, and Nightingale comes back in field. 3 tackles gone.
Oh, boys. Up you go. Oh, big dummy.
Adam Blair.
Oh, that's enough.
Blair gets it away and it's snapped up by the Welsh, and the Kiwis sloppy in this second half.
Might be critical of Adam Blair there, Bill, but I think he's been outstanding. For a guy that hasn't played for so long, and he's come back, and I know he hasn't had a break this game. He's gone 72 minutes without having a break. I mean, he must have done some work in those weeks, I can say that.
Here's Jordan James now, and James has tried to get that ball away, but it's come up for the Kiwis, and now then the Welsh defence is looking a little bit scattergun at the moment. They need to regroup because the Kiwis have possession inside the Welsh 30 now. Across the field with Sika Manu. That ball's batted up by Breers, and Breers has snapped it up, and then Foran just wallops him.
Oh, come on back.
Well, there are a few people in our game as good as Lee Breers when it comes to intercepting that ball. I don't think the Kiwis are quite aware that he'll go for it. He threw the hand out, and he does it skillfully, doesn't he? Soft hands to tap it up and catch it again.
Here's Elliot Keir. Luluai gets a hold of him.
Hell, 3 square markers.
And this time,
Marcus square.
good. Keir can't make too much progress. Braychek now.
4, Adam, let
4
go.
tackles gone. Little hand in there. Could have been a penalty to the Welsh, perhaps. Kopjak.
5 off the legs.
Now then, what will Breers come up with this time? This time drills it into the corner. That'll do for the Welsh. Let's turn around, make him come the length of the field. Well, not quite the length of the field this time.
I suppose there's two ways you can approach a game at this stage. You can try the risk shots and try and score, maybe concede more points, so you can play conservatively. He's shown us both options, hasn't he, in the last few minutes. There was the chip over the top, which they didn't regather. This is a more patient approach. They've kicked it to touch. And they want to finish on a high note. I know that's not scoring points, but it's preventing the 4 nations champions from scoring again.
Time out.
Lee Breers had a big game on this ground in 2010 when he won the Lance Todd Trophy with the Wolves as they beat Leeds in the Challenge Cup final. And he's had another big game for Wales here today.
1, move.
Nightingale.
Happy go. I'll hop out there now, boys.
In the middle of the field now.
Watch the ball.
2, move.
Coming up to the last
Lee,
5
make
minutes. And the Kiwis, just the one try in this second half. And while it remains that way, it's helping the England cause, but this isn't. It's Luluai, it's support, and it's Nathan Feen, and Feen will eventually get there, not quite where he intended. But Nathan Feen, the Queenslander in New Zealand colours, eventually breaks this Welsh defence. But no great celebration on Kiwi faces there, recognising that it's been a bit of a struggle in this second half to assert their authority.
Well, Nathan Feen is the try scorer, but the one man who created the 2 tries that New Zealand have scored since half-time is Thomas Luluai, the number 9. He's been impressive, too strong for the place to handle. Look, almost like a front row forward, bursting between the tackles, taking it forward, and then delaying the pass. Nice easy one for Feen to catch. Has to change direction to make sure he gets over the line. But Thomas Luluai shows just how powerful he is for a pretty short man. Punches between 2 defenders, has Foran on the right, Feen on the left, opt for the number 14, and it's 4 more points.
All right. They need one. They need one.
5th try for New Zealand from Nathan Feen.
Thanks, mate.
Back in the side after missing last week's defeat against Australia. And the Kiwis getting the first win of the series, the tournament under their belts here, but not the scale of the victory that a lot of people were anticipating outside the Welsh camp and the Principality, I think. And Marshall has kicked that one, but he's missed, let's see, 3 kicks so far, and they are 2 points behind England on points difference at the moment.
And that could be very important, and I think that the Kiwis are fully aware of it. Nathan Feen, the try scorer, he realises they've got to try to get another try in these vital final minutes. But I must say the quality, and we mentioned it, didn't we, that Stephen Kearney to come and bring Thomas Luluai back onto the field of play. He's the reason why they've brought them back into it. At one point it looks as though that the Welsh side, Sean, were going to shut them down in the second half.
Well, I thought Thomas Leuluai was outstanding at the first 20 minutes of this game, and certainly when Stephen Kearney's brought him back on, he's just started off again, hasn't he, where he finished up. He's got great vision, he's got great power, and I'll tell you something else he does well, he defends well in the middle of the ruck, and that's something that often goes unseen with Thomas Leuluai. We just expect him to work hard. He does hit very hard in defence.
Well, they'll be desperate now, Bill. It's now or nothing, and they've got to look to perhaps the likes of Benji Marshall, Kieran Foran, maybe the chip over the top. You can see that they're up in the tempo now.
A bit late in the day to be up in the tempo with under 3 minutes to go. Marshall. Foran. Oh, that's forwards.
Well, trying to force the issue, you can tell, can't you? They've got the message out to them. The Kiwi camp has realised that they're 2 points adrift in that points difference.
So another New Zealand error, and I'm disappointed with the second half display here, I think. Just the two tries, Beale and Feen.
Let's go.
With the weight in the forwards that New Zealand have had on display today, one would have expected that they would get over the advantage line a lot more times than the Welsh outfit, but especially in the second half, you know, Justin Harris can feel very, very proud of the fact that they've upped the tempo.
Come on, Wales. Last couple of minutes.
Wait, Jeremy. Good.
Welsh try wanted by the vast majority of the crowd in this stadium.
They've got to be careful that the likes of Benji Marshall won't be looking for an intercept. Try to camp down here.
James gets the pass away to Kopczak, then gets clattered by Leuluai, and Wales will get the penalty. Now then, will Breers say we'll take two, we'll get points on the board? The crowd, I think, are urging him to go for the two, perhaps.
No, they've got to get the try. I mean, that would be an insult to go for two there.
Here is Budworth.
One there. Okay, boys, that'll do.
Inside the Kiwi 10. Inside the last minute now, I beg your pardon.
Two there.
Breers is screaming for it.
Dudson. And they'll get another penalty. Interference from Blair at the play the ball. Wales a golden opportunity. Breers trying to sell the dummy. Nobody bought it in Kiwi ranks. They've never been nilled under Justin Harris's coach. They've got a chance to do something about it. Kopczak, straight up the middle. Last 30 seconds. Jordan James trying to burrow his way through. A chance for glory for somebody in red here. Flower over the top. Oh, and it's gone to ground. And Wales, well, they're not going to be able to breach that New Zealand rearguard now. The hooter sounds with the Kiwis in possession, as they have been for much of this game, but they haven't done as much damage with it as a lot of people expected. They've won by 36 points to nil, so points difference does come into play somewhere down the track, and Justin Harris's men have done England a favour here with a gallant performance.
Tremendous, absolutely superb, and I'm sure that Justin Harris and all the guys in red, the Welsh outfit, they can feel extremely proud. And there's Thomas Leuluai. He's been the major factor, the reason why the Kiwis have at least won this game with a little bit of a canter, but they've struggled in the second half. It's a few problems for Stephen Kearney, they know it, as we keep mentioning through that the forwards were not as dominant as what was expected.
Just the two second half tries from the Kiwis. It was 26-0 at half time, 36-0 at full time. Beale and Feen, those try scorers, and Nathan Feen's try didn't come until the 75th minute, so commendable performance from the Welsh. Marshall kicking 4 from 7. And significantly, the New Zealanders' performance was upped by the arrival on the pitch in the second half of Thomas Leuluai. He's won the man of the match, presented by Patrick McGarry from Gillette UK.
Well done, Thomas, and a man of the match performance, 36-0. Just give us your verdict. How pleased are you with the way New Zealand have played out there?
In patches, I think. Started the game, we started pretty well and built a lot of pressure, but yeah, maybe a bit disappointed the second half performance, but it gives us something to keep working on and just keep going.
Did you have one eye on next week, both in terms of the importance of beating England, but going through processes for next week?
No, not really. We really focused on this game, and we had things we wanted to improve on. I thought we did, but there's still a lot more improvement in us in those areas where we weren't as good as we could have been.
You gave a lot of penalties away as well. I think it went to double figures, which is a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Particularly so much ball you had.
Yeah, I know. The Lungs realised that we gave away too many penalties, and we really had to work hard there. But I'm happy with the nil scoreline, but we're definitely can't give away too many of those penalties against some of the other teams in the competition.
Yeah, and also the points difference may be a factor at some point. I mean, are you worried that you didn't put enough points on them?
No, we just wanted to win. We didn't even talk about it, to be fair. So, at the end of the day, we just got to keep working, and hopefully, we get a chance to get ourselves in the final next week.
Well done, Thomas. We'll see you next week at Hull. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lee Briers is here, the Welsh captain. Lee, a return to Wembley, not with the same result in terms of a victory, but do you take a lot of satisfaction with the way Wales have played out there and how doggedly you defended?
I suppose so. I suppose the second half was a great boost for the boys. Everybody's got to be aware that we're a semi-professional team. There's not many of us are professional, and there's some guys who have not played rugby for more than 5 years. So to keep New Zealand to 2 tries in the second half, when you'd expect us to get tired, I thought, super effort. I know I've won the Challenge Cup here, but that's just as proud as second half.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about a learning curve. It is a results game, but it's not always about the result, is it? And this for Wales is all about learning for the part-time boys, as you said, to play against this quality of opposition.
Well, it is exactly right, and we had our chances, but the difference between the top sides and the middle side is that they build pressure. I think we had about 5 dropouts, something like that. We couldn't get one on them, and we kept turning the ball over, and that's what happens on the back of it. We got fatigued, but I must give credit to our middlemen. I think we went down to 15 players again, and New Zealand quality side. So to do what we did in the second half, it's got to take a lot of credit for that.
Well done, Lee. Thanks for talking to us, and we'll see you against Australia next weekend for the big one.
Yeah, and it gets easier, doesn't it? Cheers.
Yeah, it gets easier, says Lee Briers, but I tell you something, if they struck medals for gallantry in rugby league, there would be 17 being struck right now for the Welsh, because that was a tremendous second half display. Okay, you look at that and you think, well, it's a one-sided affair, but it is not as one-sided as some would have had you believe before the match. 36 points to 0, 2 from Manu, 2 from Beale, Nightingale, Locke and Fien. Marshall a little bit off with the goal kicking, only managing 4 successful kicks. 36-0. As I say, John Wells, a gallant Welsh performance.
It was, Eddie. Wales really rolled their sleeves up in the second half. Now, I'll tell you what, this is what you call winning a collision. Kopczak excellent for Wales so far in this series. New Zealand, though not scoring points at this stage, still barrelling runs in like this consistently throughout the game. This is Jared Waerea-Hargreaves, and his run and runs like that set up position for the Kiwis for their first score of the half. And it's Luluai here. We'll pick him up in a second, who covers 20 metres to get to dummy half. And this man on the edge is who he's looking for, Beale. Now Briers and Keir are both looking in at the point of this pass, and Luluai finds Beale on the outside to cross for a score. Wales really forcing the pass now, desperate to post something, and they nearly did through Gil Dudson, and then another opportunity here through Lee Briers. Unfortunately, at the point, now we've seen him so many times do this in Super Eagle, haven't we? Caught a lot of the Kiwis out here. The hand of Kopczak just denied him the chance. But it was New Zealand, and a familiar figure again to Super League viewers certainly, in Sky Sports, in Tommy Luluai. There he is, supplied the break here, starting and finishing the scoring today, New Zealand, and Fien is in support to score the final try of the game, 36-0. And Tommy Luluai summed it up really, I think. They played well in patches today. They'll certainly be very happy with the nil scoreline. As he mentioned, Wales, their second half display was fantastic. They really rolled their sleeves up. They were committed, aggressive, honest in their defence and attack. They've got a lot to be very proud of. But as Lee Briers says, it's onwards and upwards, and another stern test to come.
Yeah, another stern test to come. What did he say? It just gets easier, doesn't it? Because Australia next in Wrexham, next Sunday night for the Welsh. But the 3 major nations now all have 2 points each. And it's a very good afternoon so far for England. Because look at that points difference. The 38 margin that they beat the Welsh by last week keeps them on top of the pile ahead of the game to come with Australia, which is on the way from Wembley here at 3:30. But Phil Clark, as I say, if you're talking about brave efforts and laying your body on the line, the Welsh in that second half, they did it in bundles.
They did, yes, and we've said it repeatedly how impressed that we were with them. Like Elliot Keir on the wing, I can only imagine that playing against an international opposition like New Zealand will help him develop and improve by 10 or 20%. That to me is like cramming 2 or 3 seasons development into one afternoon's work, and I'm sure that several other players for the Welsh side will improve on the back of that experience, even though they've lost. From a New Zealand point of view, I think that really they knew they just had to come here and win, didn't they? They've played as well as they could, but the focus has to be next week. When we look at the story of the second half, the fact that Wales have got more of those red bars in it, and the fact that they're getting up to numbers 5 and 6, they were holding the ball for longer in the tackle, and they had a more even percentage of possession. And when you see the gaps appear later on, there were 1 or 2 tries, but the fact that they got more of possession and they held it for longer, they weren't losing it on the first or second tackle, they were doing better things with it, gave themselves a chance, and I think it's one of the reasons why they were more competitive in that second 40 minutes.
Well, perhaps because there are so many star names back home. There were a lot of people, Sean, saying before this tournament began that New Zealand were gettable and England could get to the final to take on Australia. Of what we've seen over the past fortnight, would you agree with that now?
There's a vulnerability about this New Zealand side. I watched closely today some of the players off the ball, and there was a lot of walking. There's still a lot of walking going on from some of the forwards. They're taking too many breathers for me, and I think that's very unusual for the New Zealand team, particularly when they've played a couple of hard test matches. I watched again today very closely. I'm not referring to Adam Blair, because I thought he was outstanding for a player who hadn't played for so long. I thought Wales defended better today against New Zealand too, Eddie, and I think that maybe that just took a little bit more out of them. I thought that New Zealand were a little pedestrian today with what they did, and they just kind of went through the motions, did what they had to do. But I think that there is a vulnerability. That's a word I like to use, because they just looked suspect in certain areas, particularly around the ruck. They didn't control as well as what they should be doing. I don't think their edge defence is quite as good. I think there's some inexperience in some of those outside backs. And I think if England have to beat them next week, they've got a great opportunity to do that.
They have at Hull, of course, because the whole public will get behind England and roar them in. But let's just concentrate on the Welsh for a bit. You've paid tribute to the job that Iestyn Harris has done since he took over as Welsh coach from John Dixon. 36-0, he won't like that on his record, but what a performance.
Well, I think in that match they created, and I'd have to say he had an influence in that, 4 opportunities to score. They didn't score any of the 4. One was the kick in the in-goal area when they failed possession. But he's obviously helped the team to identify chances and spaces and opportunities that New Zealand will give them. Now, they didn't convert them into points, but I think it shows good for him. And I said how the players have improved by being involved in international. I've no doubt Iestyn Harris will have improved as a coach from the lessons he's learnt and had to teach himself by analysing these 4 Nations games.
Indeed so. As we say, medals for gallantry don't come along often in rugby league, obviously, but that was the second half particularly. You have to take your hats off to the Welsh.
Well, they were better, and that was the important thing for Wales for me. I didn't think they could win a game, but I thought they couldn't win last week against England. They certainly weren't going to win today, in my opinion, and they'll struggle next week. But we'll worry about that when the time comes. But for me, Eddie, the improvement is the important thing in your performance. They were better today, both offensively and defensively. It was just that last kick, if you like, didn't quite go where they wanted, or that final pass didn't quite hit the target. But defensively they were better, they made better decisions today, and they stood up against a very big, powerful, strong side. So they can be proud of their performance, but I think we all got the result that we expected.
Yes, an expected victory for New Zealand, but a really gutsy, determined performance from Iestyn Harris and the Welsh. OK, so that's part 1 over and done with. Coming up now, we have part 2, and this is the scene right now in the England dressing room. The Dragons, well, their flame has been doused now. The Red Cross of St George. Can it take on and beat the Kangaroos? The Australians are waiting, and this team showed really good stuff in patches against the Kiwis at Warrington last week. They know that England lift when they come to Wembley, and Tim Sheens has been talking about it all week. Can England record an historic win? Well, the Kiwis have won 36-0. A big Australian victory, of course, would dent England's hopes. But it's the English against the Aussies next.
has been a Fox Sports presentation.